welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a story time on how I found out I was pregnant. If you guys don't know, I do have a 5-year-old daughter, and I got pregnant with her at the end of my junior year in high school. So get some coffee, get some snacks, because I'm gonna give you guys my story time. A lot of people actually don't know about this, and it's kind of weird how I found out. Yeah, just keep on watching right there. Okay, so this all happened back in 2014. It was the end of my senior year in it was the end of my junior year in high school. First things first, I got my period when I was 9 years old. So I got my period super young. I was actually still in elementary school in the 4th grade when I got my period. So yeah, I mean, every time I tell people, they feel bad for me, and I feel bad for myself, because no grade school kid should have to go through that. But yeah, I got my period when I was 9 years old. Ever since the first time I got my period, I have never missed a period in my life. I've always been on the dot with my periods. I would maybe be like 1 or 2 days late, rarely 3. So when I found out I was pregnant, it was kind of obvious, but it was never in my head that I was pregnant. So this was like in the beginning of April. I had missed my period, but like I said, I was always a couple days late. 1 or 2 days late. 3 was really pushing it. So once I got past 3 days late, I was actually kind of happy, because for a moment I thought my periods were gonna start being irregular, which is what I wanted in a way, because I was just tired of getting them every month. So in a way, I kind of didn't really think anything of it, because I'm like, oh, finally, like, you know, I'm gonna get irregular periods, like I'm not gonna have to get them every month, blah blah blah. So I just didn't really pay attention to it. But then I was like a week late, and I'm like, maybe I'll get it this week, like for sure today or tomorrow, you know. And my mom was the type to know when I was on my period. Like, she just always knew. Mainly because when I was in high school, I didn't have a job until obviously after I got pregnant. I didn't have a job like before that, so she was always the one to buy me like my feminine products. So she always knew when I was on my period because of that. So she kept asking me, she's like, have you gotten your period, have you gotten your period? And I wasn't lying to her. I was like, no, I haven't gotten it, but I don't know why. I'm like, maybe, you know, I'll get it this week, like don't worry about it. And I also, another thing is that before I get my periods, I start cramping in a way. I know you guys know what I'm talking about. Like, I get cramps before I start my period, and I was feeling those cramps, so I was like, I'm for sure getting it. Like there's nothing to worry about. Like, I'm gonna get it. Like, my cramps were coming in. And I told my mom, I'm like, don't worry about it. I was like, I feel the cramps I always get before I start my period, so for sure, like today or tomorrow I'll get it. And you know, that passed, and she's like, so have you gotten it yet? And I'm like, no. And she's like, well, I'm gonna make you a doctor's appointment. I'm like, okay, whatever. Like, she would always say that, but she never really did, until like one day she actually really made the appointment. And I was actually in school. She called me. She's like, hey, today when you get home, you know, be ready because we're gonna go to the clinic. I made you an appointment. And I was like, okay. Mind you, never in the back of my head, or like never would I have thought I was pregnant. I just thought that I was like super late, which, like I said, I didn't mind because I've always been the type to want irregular periods, because I've suffered since I was 9. Like, my periods are the worst. But yeah, she made me an appointment and we went, and I was like chill, I was like calm, because I never would have thought I was pregnant. I didn't get no symptoms or anything about being pregnant. So yeah, I went to the appointment and we were there, and my mom was talking to my doctor. My doctor pretty much said like, oh, she's at that stage where she's just growing up, and her hormones are all around the place, like it's totally normal. My mom was like, but she's always been the type to get it like every single month. Like, it just kind of worries me that she hasn't gotten it. And the doctor's like, she's like, no, I think she's totally fine. And like, obviously she asked me like if I was having any symptoms of pregnancy and blah blah blah, and I was like, no. And then I also told her, I was like, well, I told my mom that I feel like my cramps that I always get before I start my period, and I just told her like, I'll get it because I know that's how I'm gonna get it. And my doctor was like, see, like, it's just, maybe she's just really late this month. And actually my doctor had left already, and we were getting, you know how they give you all the paperwork after you leave, like for your visit or whatever. The medical assistant came in and she actually gave us the papers and everything. We were about to head out, and the doctor came in. She's like, well, if you want, I can do like a pregnancy test just so you can kind of like be sure about her not being pregnant. And Mom was like, she was kind of thought about it, and she was like, you know what, yeah, let's just do it. So here I am, all like all calm, all chill, going to take this pee test and everything. And I came back. Tell me why. The medical assistant came back with the results. Took her like, I want to say like less than 5 minutes. She comes back in and she's like, well, it's positive. When I tell you, my blood went from here down to my freaking toes. Like, that's what I felt when I heard those words. And my mom looked at me. She's like, ya ves, no que no era cierto, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I didn't know. Like, I didn't have any symptoms. And then, you know, once you find out you're pregnant, like, the doctor comes back in and she like gave me all these books, pretty much kind of like saying like, she's like, I know this is a lot for you to handle since you're just really young. She's like, here are a couple books. And at this moment, like, from like when they told me I was pregnant till when I got home, it was like all a blur. Like, I was like numb. Like, people would talk to me, but like I just couldn't pay attention. So like the doctor was like telling me all these things, like, oh, here's like this booklet for adoption, here's this booklet if you don't want to continue with the pregnancy, here's this book on how to cope. And like, I could hear her saying that, but I just wasn't paying attention to it like very much. Like, you know how you can hear things in the back but you're just like not concentrating in it? That's how I felt. So she did all that, right? So then I was pissed. Not like because I found out I was pregnant, but because kind of like my mom was like, not like being rude, but like, you know, like when just people talk down on you, like you're such a liar, blah blah blah. And like I genuinely did not think that I was pregnant. So her like calling me a liar, like, oh, why couldn't you just tell me, blah blah blah, like it just kind of made me mad because she was calling me a liar on something I didn't even know the truth about. So I was kind of just pissed. So I like walked out of the clinic and I just went in the car and we drove back home, and then I locked myself in my room for the rest of the day. And then my mom told my dad, so I didn't have to tell him anything. My mom told my dad, my mom told my sister, my mom told my brother, and she pretty much did all the work for me. So thank you, Mom. I'm kidding. Yeah, she pretty much just told everyone, so I didn't have to say anything. And I feel like everyone was like kind of like pissed at me, except for my brother, which is actually kind of odd. Like you would think like your, you know, big brother would be pissed off, or not pissed off, but like disappointed or something, but he's actually the only one that was really supportive. I think when my mom told him, he texted me like right after. He's like, hey, are you okay, and all this stuff. So yeah, my brother was supportive. My sister was really mad in the beginning, but you know, like the next day or two she was okay. Same with my parents. They were obviously like disappointed, but that didn't really last long. I want to say like the next day, you know, they started talking to me, and when they would talk to me, like they would talk to me calm. So yeah, that's pretty much how I found out. It was kind of weird. Everyone always asks me like, how'd you tell your parents, how'd you tell your parents? And I'm just like, honestly, me and my mom found out at the same time, at the same place. Like they both told us at the same time. So that is how I found out I was pregnant. Obviously I texted my boyfriend and I told him, but I don't know what he was doing. Like he, now when we talk about it, he's like, yeah, I was drinking with my friends, and I'm like, whatever. So I told him, and he was, I think, I don't even, honestly, I don't really remember. Like I said, when I told him, it was like that same, like literally once I got home I texted him. So everything was kind of like a blur. But I mean, yeah, he was supportive. I mean, we're still together. We've been together for, it's gonna be 7 years this year. So yeah, I actually told my friends the next, actually I don't think it was the next day, it was like a couple days after that, because I was still kind of like taking it in, you know. So I think I told them like a couple days after that. And honestly, no one believed me when I told them. Like the first person I told was one of my guy friends, but that was only because he was like the first person I saw that day, because we had like second period together, I think. And he was actually friends with my boyfriend as well. They were really good friends. So he was the first person I told, and he didn't believe me. I mean, it is what it is, you know. Now I have my daughter, and honestly I don't regret having her. I've always told people I've always wanted to be a young mom, but obviously not that young. Like I've always wanted to have babies before I was 25. So I never would have thought that I was gonna get pregnant at 16. Obviously the things you do come with consequences. So it is what it is. I actually had a really easy pregnancy. People would be like shook when I told them. I think I only threw up like twice, but that was just because like I would just like food to me for like a week or two, like it wasn't really appetizing to me. So if I would eat food, like especially food I didn't want, I would just throw it back up, and those were the only times I was really sick. I was going to school, so I was actually really active during my pregnancy because obviously you're walking through the halls. My school has stairs and I would go up and down stairs, and then I was also working throughout my pregnancy, so I was pretty much always on my feet. My iron levels were really low, so they just gave me iron pills. And then towards the very end of my pregnancy, I want to say like a month or so before I gave birth, I just got like bad hot flashes to the point where like my eyesight went black, like I couldn't see anymore, and it would just happen at the most randomest times. So they actually never found out why that would happen to me. I'm just gonna tell you guys a little bit because I also want to I want to make a separate video on my labor and delivery story because I was only in labor for 2 hours. That's all I'm gonna say. Let me know if you guys like these kind of these story times, and I will definitely do more. But thank you for watching. Until next time, I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.